The calm after the storm. Weeks later, Charlie and Sarah sat on the deck of a small yacht, the best kind, now under the command of Captain Michel, a friend they had made during a particularly strange murder case involving a spear gun and hidden cryptocurrency. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet. "To new beginnings," Charlie said, raising a glass of non-alcoholic cider. "And to keeping your head down," Sarah added, clinking her glass against his. Rex barked from the bow of the boat, his ears flopping in the wind. "He's happy," Sarah noted, leaning her head on Charlie's good shoulder. "We all are," Charlie said. He looked out at the vast, open ocean. The cases would always be there, the shadows would always return, but for now, the light was enough. They watched as the lights of Street John's began to twinkle in the distance, a constellation of hope on the edge of the world. Charlie Hudson, the detective who once walked alone, was finally home. Shadows of Street John's. A Hudson and Rex Noir. Chapter 1. The silence of the fog. The fog in Street John's didn't just roll in. It claimed the city. It clung to the colorful jelly bean row houses and muffled the sound of the Atlantic crashing against the jagged cliffs of Signal Hill. For Detective Charlie Hudson, the fog was a familiar companion, but tonight it felt heavy with the weight of unspoken secrets. He sat in his parked SUV, the engine humming softly. Beside him, Rex, a German shepherd whose intelligence often surpassed that of the men Charlie worked with, rested his chin on the dashboard. Rex's ears pricked forward. He sensed it before Charlie did, the shift in the atmosphere that preceded a storm. "I know, partner," Charlie muttered, reaching over to scratch the dog's ears. "Long day. And it's not over." His phone buzzed. It was Sarah Truong. Just seeing her name on the screen caused a slight tightening in his chest. A mixture of professional reliance and a burgeoning, terrifying warmth he wasn't yet ready to name. "Hudson," he answered. "Charlie, we have a problem." Sarah's voice was steady, but he knew the cadence of her anxiety. A lawyer named Megan Schaefer didn't make it home. Her parents are at the station. And there's more. An autistic boy named Brian was found wandering nearby. He's nonverbal, but he's traumatized. "He saw something, Charlie." "I'm 10 minutes out," he said, shifting the car into gear. The investigation into Megan's disappearance was the spark that would set the city's underbelly ablaze. Little did Charlie know that this single case would lead him through a labyrinth of corporate greed, family betrayals in the city's oldest distilleries, and a deadly game of cat and mouse in the deep woods of Cape Royal. Chapter 2. The Boy Who Draws Truth. The station was a hive of controlled chaos. In the interview room, Emma Johnson sat with her son, Brian. The boy was hunched over a sketchbook, his hand moving with a frantic, mechanical precision. Sarah stood behind the one-way glass, her eyes fixed on Brian. When Charlie entered, she didn't look away. "He won't speak," Sarah whispered. Rex approached the door of the interview room, letting out a soft, rhythmic whine. "Let him in," Charlie said. "Charlie, he's traumatized. Rex knows what he's doing. Trust him." As Rex entered the room, the dynamic shifted. The dog didn't bark or crowd the boy. He simply lay down a few feet away, his presence a grounding force of calm. Slowly, Brian's breathing leveled out. He looked at Rex, then back at his paper. With a final, sharp stroke of a charcoal pencil, he pushed the sketchbook toward the door. Charlie stepped in and picked it up. His blood ran cold. It wasn't just a sketch. It was a photographic-level rendering of a man's face. But it wasn't Jamie Bregman, Megan's ex-boyfriend. It was someone colder, someone professional. "This is our guy," Charlie said, showing the drawing to Sarah. "If that's the kidnapper," Sarah noted, "then why is Jamie Bregman's car seen leaving the law firm's parking lot at the same time?" "Because," Charlie said, his detective's instinct clicking into place, "Jamie isn't the mastermind. He's the scapegoat." Chapter 3. Escrow and Ashes. The investigation led them to the prestigious Wilkins law firm. It was a place of mahogany desks and silent carpets, where secrets were buried under legal jargon. Megan had been investigating irregularities in the firm's escrow accounts. Millions of dollars were missing. Charlie met with Todd, the firm's senior partner. Todd was the picture of a grieving mentor, but Rex stayed low, a low rumble vibrating in his chest whenever Todd spoke. Jamie was suspended this morning, Todd said, his voice smooth. We suspect he was the one taking the money. Megan, she was going to report him, but the narrative didn't hold. Later that evening, Rex led Charlie to an overdue rental van parked in a desolate lot. Inside, they found Jamie Bregman. He hadn't fled, he had been executed. A single, professional stab wound to the heart. He was dead before Megan was even snatched, Sarah said, examining the body under the harsh glare of forensic lights. She looked up at Charlie, her face pale. This wasn't a crime of passion, Charlie. This was a cleanup. In the silence of the morgue, the tension between them reached a breaking point. You're working too hard, Sarah said, stepping closer to him to adjust the collar of his coat. It was a small, intimate gesture. You need to sleep, Charlie. I can't, he said, his voice dropping an octave. Not while she's still out there. And not while the person who did this is walking free in a three-piece suit. He reached out, his hand hovering near hers for a second too long. The air between them was electric, a stark contrast to the cold sterility of the room. Then the phone rang. A ransom demand, $2 million. The game was truly afoot. Chapter 4. The Secret of the Devereaux Gin. While the search for Megan intensified, a second tragedy struck the heart of the city's elite. Willem Devereaux, the patriarch of the legendary Devereaux distillery, was found dead, drowned in a vat of his own gin. Charlie and Rex arrived at the distillery, where the air was thick with the scent of juniper and old money. The Devereaux children, Alan, Jaden, and Melanie, stood in the shadow of the massive copper stills, their grief overshadowed by a palpable, bitter rivalry. My father was about to make a big announcement, Jaden told Charlie, his eyes darting to his siblings. Something that would change the company forever. Rex wandered through the distillery room, his nose twitching. He stopped by a series of barrels in the back and began to dig. Hidden beneath a pile of burlap was a suit jacket, soaked in gin. Recognize this, Alan? Charlie asked, holding up the garment. The eldest son went pale. I spilled a drink, that's all. But Sarah's autopsy revealed a darker truth. Willem hadn't just fallen. He had been struck from behind and then submerged. It was a brutal, decisive murder. And the motive? A secret ingredient. Labrador tea, Sarah said, holding up a small vial of botanical remains Rex had found in the lab. It's a local plant. Willem discovered it gave the gin a unique, addictive profile, but it can also be toxic in high concentrations. The investigation into the distillery revealed a web of international deals. Jaden had been secretly negotiating with a Japanese conglomerate to sell the family legacy. Willem had found out and was planning to disinherit him in favor of Melanie, the youngest daughter who had started her own skincare line. It's a classic tragedy, Sarah noted as they sat in Charlie's trailer that evening, sharing a rare moment of peace over a pizza. Rex sat at their feet, eyes hopeful for a crust. A father who couldn't love his children, and children who couldn't wait for him to die. Is it always about the money, Sarah? Charlie asked, looking at her in the soft light of the trailer. Not always, she whispered. Sometimes it's about being seen, about wanting someone to finally tell you that you're enough. Charlie felt the weight of those words. He wanted to tell her she was more than enough, but the shadows of the cases still hung between them. Chapter 5. The Yacht and the Crypto Key. The cases began to overlap in unexpected ways. The law firm, representing the Devereaux family, was the same firm where Megan worked, and the man seen in the background of the yacht murder, Jake Kaufman, had been a major investor in both. Kaufman was found pinned to his yacht's deck by a spear gun. The suspects were many: his trophy wife Andrea, his tech partner Veronica, and a deckhand with a criminal past named Blaine. The watch. Rex barked, nudging a mahogany case in Kaufman's cabin. What is it, buddy? Charlie asked. Kaufman was a Luddite, Sarah explained, having joined Charlie on the docks. He didn't trust banks. He kept his entire fortune in cryptocurrency. But a 6-4-digit key is impossible to remember. He had it engraved, Charlie realized, inside his watch.